Man United 3, Brentford 0. I'm joined by Stephen Howson. And actually, for once when we're chatting after a game, a comfortable performance from Man United. And I don't know if it's just me, but it's almost annoyed me watching that game, because why haven't we seen 12, 15 of those games this season at home? Instead, we've seen about 3.
If we'd have seen about 3 more, we'd have probably been talking about Champions League music next year.
It's ridiculous.
Wouldn't have needed many.
No.
Wouldn't have needed many, but like a couple would have been nice, wouldn't it? I don't know if that's our best performance of the season, but in the circumstances we've had lately, it feels like it.
It's mad, isn't it? And it wasn't a great performance. It was a good one. It was controlled. I think it was the most passes we've had all season, so that shows you some of the possession and control we've had. And again,
it was nice one-touch stuff. Yeah. Really good one-touch play. Yeah. Bit of movement off the ball, bit of quality on the ball, bit of bravery and ingenuity. It was nice. I enjoyed it.
Why do you think we've not seen more of that? Because they're still the same players. I know Juan Mata coming in, but it's not like he fits every game. It's not like he would have changed it.
It was literally one player change from the Chelsea game and 100% different performance. Like, it's easy to say, oh, Juan Mata. It can't be. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is, obviously.
It's weird, isn't it?
If Ralph knows what it is.
It doesn't really make any sense that we can go from being so disinterested and bad against Norwich, who are worse than Brentford and weren't fighting for anything either, because whilst they didn't get relegated that day, we're definitely going down. And then Brentford, who are a better team than Norwich, we've blown them away quite comfortably. I feel almost...
Watford.
Well, yeah, Watford. I know Everton was away, but...
Everton.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. And I almost feel bad as a fan who sits here when we lose saying, I want us to win. And then when we win, I almost feel annoyed that they've won because it shone a light on all those bad performances. But it's been such a confusing and weird and awful season. Rangnick after the game said about how, 2 or 3 good transfer windows, getting in the right players that actually lift the level can make a difference in a team, can get a team winning trophies. Do you think that we do need 10, 12 players out, or do you think 2 or 3 players here or there over the next 2 or 3 windows and we can start seeing some difference here? Because I want to start looking forward and being optimistic.
I think you can get... Joe, it's 5 years, because there's probably going to be 10 go now, right? We weren't going to sign 10. The most we ever signed really is 4, right? And how many of them have ever been a success? It ain't 3. No. You got to be realistic and say that if you sign 4 and 2 work, you've done well. I was chatting to someone last week who has been doing data analysis for an agency on the different leagues that have been successful coming to the Premier League, trying to use that as a bit of a way to obviously get more money for their clients and help them sell their clients and better aid clubs. And when they're looking at moves to the Premier League, they want the data to be able to back up, why do you want this much money for this player? And they're looking at some leagues, Dutch League, Bundesliga, you're looking at 25% or less successful transfers in the last 5 years, something like that. What would be considered? And the metric would be, would the club do that again? And it's opinion-based, but would the club do that transfer again, knowing how it would turn out as the metric? And the sort of middle of the road mark is like 47%, something like that, for all transfers from all leagues. So when you think that most transfers don't work, just over half don't work, you've got to go into a transfer window going, okay, we can hope for the best here, but being real, we're probably going to fuck some of this up. So you've got to kind of rotate through the shit a little bit. You've got to kiss a lot of frogs, Joe, before you find your prince. And I think that's what we're going to have to do. And I would say in the last 10 years, United have spent a lot of money, but it hasn't been on enough players. Like, I think we've wasted large transfer fees where, for Wan-Bissaka and Maguire alone, that could have been double the amount of players, which would have tripled or doubled our chances of success with those players. Because the money spent on a player actually has very little bearing on whether he's a success or a failure. And arguably, the higher the transfer fee, the more chance that you as a football club would probably not do that transfer again, with the hindsight. Very, very few massive money transfers are ever a success.
Unless you're buying them from Benfica, then it tends to be a pretty decent success rate. But yeah, it's a good point about United just haven't had enough turnover of players. Like some players who we would have said 4 years ago are probably coming to an end. The likes of Mata, the likes of Jones, the likes of Matic, they are either still there, and Phil Jones may well be at United next season. Or they're just
Honestly.
leaving now. Even like Eric Bailly, we've known for 3 years that he's too injury prone to be a top level football player. He might be good enough, but he doesn't play often enough. The squad again. Luke Shaw's another one where you go, maybe he gets another season because he was all right last year, but really we're 7 years into this experiment and he's still there. You just think there's 8 years. There's too many players who we've known for a long time are not good enough still at Manchester United. Do you think that's what Rangnick's talking about then after the game, talking about it's about improving, it's about getting the right players in? Because if it's 42% or whatever he said is the average, hopefully United have got above average people bringing these people in because they're being paid more than average. They're certainly, got higher expectations than the average scout, the average recruitment team. Matt Judge has just left.
Alexis Sanchez was paid more than the average.
Yeah, well, that's true. But do you think Matt Judge leaving could have a bearing on things? Because, apparently he quit, but it sounded like he was being somewhat marginalised anyway. Is that because of you've done too many fuck-ups over the last 7 years? We don't trust you anymore.
I've been told to be skeptical. Let's just put it as that. I don't like being skeptical. I'm a positive guy. I want to live in hope. And when you see what's going on in the rest of the Premier League, it'd be pretty easy to be fucking down on Manchester United. You don't have to look far to criticise what we're doing as a football club. Someone has told me that a lot of the moves that you've seen in terms of Lawler and Boot and Judge, they're more for the optics than anything else. And my rebuttal to this person was, well, we saw David Gill be successful under the Glazers. I think you can be successful given the parameters. The CEO ultimately, I think, has been the person making a lot of the big calls, and they're the one ultimately responsible. Yes, the owners are ultimately responsible of everything, but realistically, the owners aren't going to change. The CEO, we're in our third CEO now, and there's been so far 2 very different experiences of CEOs. One probably was a large factor called Sir Alex Ferguson, but the other one has completely fucked it up, regardless of having Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho as well. So I can only hope that the next CEO, even if he has a little bit of hands tying and lack of sanctioning over certain things from the Glazer side of things, he's able to still find relative success and relative progress, because Manchester United will still spend in the ballpark of enough to at least be competitive. We've seen Leicester win a title with less budget than us. We've seen Liverpool win a title with less to comparable sort of budget with ourselves. We've seen other clubs in and around the mix have done very, very respectable things in spite of the budget. So even if, one of my main gripes is they've done fuck all on the ground for 17 years. The progress that we made in the preceding 17 years was outrageous. That alone should tell you what they're like as owners. The talk of the redevelopment of the stadium is probably utter nonsense. I'm yet to see any evidence of what they want to do as owners. I certainly don't think they're putting pressure on the CEOs to deliver trophies. I think that they only care about how much dividend can I take out this quarter. Well, that's a bit down. What's happened? I don't think their involvement in the running of a football club extends beyond that. So I'm putting a lot of weight, hopefully, in what can the CEO do. And the CEO for me is someone that's going to set the culture of the club. And he's going to be the one that's walking around Carrington going, why are we fucking spending 80 million on a centre half in our league? Where's the hidden gem that plays in France? Where's the hidden gem that plays in Holland? Where's the next fucking Cannavaro coming out of Parma? That's what I want my CEO to be enforcing. I want him to be going out there. Like Nico Schlotterbeck, for an example, that's just signed for Dortmund. United had watched him and fucking decided he wasn't good enough. Well, I've fucking decided them scouts aren't good enough because he's fucking mint. And I guarantee you'll see him either at Bayern Munich or with £100 million price tag around his neck in about 18 months after fucking smashing it at Dortmund. You know, and there's countless examples of that. In fact, you just want to look at who Dortmund are interested in and try and buy them because their scout department's better than ours.
Yeah, it's tough, innit? I mean, like you said, hopefully the people that have come in that are new, that aren't doing the same decisions or making the same decisions that we've seen over the last 10 years, regardless of the skepticism around them, hopefully they can make at least a few more right decisions than the people that preceded him. Because, you know, Richard Arnold might not be David Gill, but hopefully he's better than Ed Woodward. That wouldn't be too hard. And that might get us a few more trophies in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be back to Ferguson, but if we can win one Premier League in the next few years, I'll be over the fucking moon because it's better than we have seen. So hopefully there is still a bit of optimism we can have.
I think so, yeah. And I'm relying on that. I think Ed Woodward... I'll stop short for obvious reasons of saying it's the most disastrous thing that's ever happened to this football club, but it's been a fucking disaster. It's been awful. Yeah. And I think when I look at opposition fans and they were like, some of the stuff they were saying is, oh, let's protest our owners because they only bought us Ronaldo and Sancho and Varane, is because they're looking at that one thing. Yeah. We still spent more on debt than we spent on transfers on those three this season. Yeah. We spent $1.4 billion in 17 years. We haven't spent it on transfers. Yeah. That's the madness, is that in that time, you see what we spent on transfers, I think we would all agree is a ludicrous amount of money, right? The ludicrous amount of money that we've spent on transfers, Di Maria, Lukaku, Pogba as of like next month, aren't going to be here. The 1 point whatever the fuck it was billion that we spent on debt repayments, we got nothing for it. Nothing. It's not like we went and built the most outrageous $1 billion stadium the world's ever seen and we can fit 400,000 of us in the fucker and you go and have a piss and it fucking squirts popcorn at you. Like, we got none of that. We've got a decrepit old stadium. We've got a training ground that hasn't moved forward in 20 years. Yo, we're almost fucking running up and down a sports hall for how much the rest of the Premier League has moved on. We've got a scouting and analysis department that I think fucking exists on the back of playing Footy Manager. You know, we've got so far behind on everyone else. And last time I checked, this was Manchester United, and we were supposed to be doing things better. When was the last time you heard of us doing anything cutting edge? You know, you heard about the sleep pods and stuff like that we brought in. What, in about 2009, was it? After that, fuck all. And we probably got given them from a sponsor, right? If we're being real. When was the last cutting edge? Like we lost Bill Bezic in about 2002, 2003, and it took us 19 years to appoint a new sports psychologist. Are you fucking kidding me? You probably got them at fucking under 11s nowadays for people. Manchester United should represent the pinnacle of sports science, of scouting, of scientific player development. I know when you go to Arsenal, they take a bone marrow sample to try and guesstimate how tall you're going to be as a player when you're fucking 12. Because these things matter. That's the level of detail other people are going into. I can't even fathom what they're going to be doing at the big fucking spaceship at the Etihad. Like, what are they doing at Manchester United? I'll tell you what they do. Some of their fucking teams train where my team train. And it's fucking shit. It's the oldest 3G pitch in Manchester. And it gets broken into every fucking night. Manchester United have 3 teams that train on that pitch. Academy teams. Like, how the fuck have we got Carrington and the Cliff and Manchester United's going out hiring fucking dumps in Hardwick? You can't tell me that Manchester United should be run the same as fucking Stretford Paddock. No. It's ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. Do you think Manchester City are fucking playing there? They've got 500 fucking pitches in East Manchester. Brand new. Yeah. Their entire academy goes and trains there. I still think the academy's doing good stuff despite the obvious. The women's team are still relatively successful despite living out of fucking porter cabins and training out of Lee. But Manchester United, I expect more. I just expect a higher standard. I don't see anyone, obviously, such a privilege to do a podcast with Rio. One of the things he comes out with all the time is culture and standards. And the standards is the tempo and in the intensity in training. That's a tiny little fragment of it, but it comes from the top. Whether that's Sir Alex, and let's be honest, Sir Alex wore 19 different hats at Manchester United. He controlled everything. There's talk when I think this is one of Brian McClare's stories where he said United had just lost to Liverpool when he was academy director, and he said he's gone in there's no canteen ladies, there's no staff walking around. And he said he's gone around the corner. Fergie's got them all in a fucking corner bollocking him because we just lost to Liverpool. Like, everyone's fucking standards need to be praised.
It's their fault.
And all right, that's fucking mental.
Yeah.
But do you know what? When we won the league, you'd bring it into him, the title, the trophy, and be like, "This is yours."
Yeah.
So you share the success, you share the fucking losses as well. But it means everybody's standards are high. You need to open that fucking barrier at Carrington. Better.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever your job is, be fucking mint at it.
Yeah.
The amount of mediocrity that is allowed to exist at United, and some of it on some absolute fucking scandalous wages. Woodward down, by the way. Highest paid CEO in football.
Yeah.
Fucking what now?
Yeah, like I said, I don't remember the last time you looked at any facet of Man United and went, "My God, are we the best in the world at that?"
Not even deals.
No.
Not even deals. No. I mean, Barcelona are doing some fucking madness, turning over $1 billion.
We're not even doing that. The one thing that I will say that they did pretty well was some of the stuff over the pandemic, but even that was, it was the PR team rather than the football team.
Yeah,
and
it was tap-ins, wasn't
exactly.
it? We've got all this food that we were already making. Let's just go and fucking give it to vulnerable people.
On the pitch.
It was the right thing to do, but it was a tap-in. Right in the NHS on the fucking pitch. Well, guess what? We've got fucking 28 groundsmen here that aren't doing fuck all. Let them go do that. It wasn't like we had to go out of our way.
No.
We had these people working for us. Yeah. I'm glad that they did it, but they didn't really do much.
And it's like I said, it's been a long time since United have been at the top of any list you'd want to be top of. Right, Steve, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow for the Stretford Paddock podcast, a day later than usual, but obviously United were too busy beating Brentford for us to do a podcast, so make sure you check that out. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in a bit.